What if I told you that the most powerful royal couple on the planet, the future King and Queen of England, just vanished? Not into thin air, but from every red carpet, every royal engagement, every obligatory wave at the crowd moment that the British monarchy has basically turned into a full-time job. Gone. Poof. For 2 whole years, William and Kate became the most talked about ghosts in designer clothing. And here's the kicker. The palace's explanations? About as convincing as a fast food menu at a Michelin-star restaurant. So today, we are pulling back that velvet curtain, cracking open the palace walls, and getting into the real story behind the royal disappearing act that had the entire world on edge. Buckle up, because this one gets wild. Quick favor before we dive in. If you're loving this, hit that subscribe button right now. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us here at Celebrity Watch Gist. Thanks, if you did. Now, back to the show. So let us rewind the clock. Everything looked perfectly polished on the outside. William and Kate were the golden couple, the ones even people who do not care about royals still somehow cared about. They showed up to events looking immaculate, raised 3 adorable children who were basically walking PR campaigns for the monarchy, and seemed absolutely untouchable. And then, silence. The kind of silence that does not feel peaceful. The kind that makes you check your phone 3 times in a row, convinced you missed something. It started with Kate. In early 2024, Princess Catherine, and yes, we are using her full title because this woman has earned it, underwent what the palace described as planned abdominal surgery. Simple enough, right? Routine procedure, couple of weeks off, back to business as usual. Except it was not that simple, not even close. Weeks turned into months, public appearances evaporated, and the internet, being the internet, went absolutely feral trying to figure out what was going on. Now here's where it gets interesting. The palace, which has a centuries-old reputation for saying as little as humanly possible, while somehow still saying too much, released a statement assuring everyone that Kate was recovering well and would return to public duties after Easter. That was supposed to calm people down. Instead, it was like pouring a single glass of water on a California wildfire. The theories exploded. Conspiracy boards lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Where was Kate? Was she actually okay? And more importantly, where on earth was William? Because here's the thing nobody was talking about loudly enough. While the world was focused on Kate's health, William was also pulling back in ways that felt just a little too strategic to be purely coincidental. Canceled engagements, scaled back appearances, a general sense of a man who was either dealing with an enormous personal crisis or had discovered the world's greatest Netflix queue. Either way, the palace offered nothing but carefully worded statements that explained absolutely everything while revealing absolutely nothing. Classic royals. Then came the photograph heard around the world. In March 2024, Kensington Palace released a Mother's Day photo of Kate with her children, meant to silence the noise and prove she was alive, well, and smiling. Instead, sharp-eyed people online spotted that the image had been edited. Badly. Like beginner-level, first day of Photoshop edited. Major newswire services pulled the image. Kate herself later admitted she had edited it as an amateur photographer, but the damage was already done. The internet had made up its mind, and the internet does not take backs lightly. And just when the speculation reached fever pitch, Kate released a video. A raw, quiet, deeply personal video filmed in her garden in which she revealed she had been diagnosed with cancer. Not a spokesperson, not a palace press release, Kate herself, looking directly into the camera, speaking with a calm that honestly made the moment hit 10 times harder. She had been undergoing preventative chemotherapy, and just like that, every whisper, every theory, every meme, all of it dissolved into something far more human. This was not a PR crisis. This was a woman fighting for her life while the world demanded explanations she was not obligated to give. Now hold on, because the story does not stop there. Because while Kate's health was the emotional core of this whole saga, William's behavior during this period became its own subplot, and a deeply telling one at that. See, William stepped back not just as a husband supporting a sick wife, which is completely understandable, but in ways that suggested the weight of everything, the institution, the public pressure, the unrelenting scrutiny, was pressing down on him in a very visible way. There were reports of tension within the palace, whispers about William grappling with his own version of royal burnout. A man who had watched his mother be consumed by the very machine he was born to lead, now watching his wife disappear from public view, trying to hold a family together while the tabloids circled like sharks in designer suits. And then there is the Harry factor, because there is always a Harry factor. While William and Kate were navigating the most difficult chapter of their lives quietly and privately, Harry and Meghan were on the other side of the Atlantic, continuing to exist very loudly in the public eye. Every Harry interview, every Meghan appearance, every documentary drop felt like a grenade lobbed over the fence at the exact wrong moment. Sources close to the palace suggested William was furious, not just about the timing, but about the way deeply personal family matters kept finding their way into headline-ready sound bites. The rift between the brothers, which had been simmering for years, reportedly hit new levels of cold during this period. And William, a man who processes things internally to a degree that would make therapists weep, kept it all behind closed doors. But here's the part that doesn't get enough airtime: Kate's return. Because after months of silence, of speculation, of the world writing its own version of her story, she came back. And she did not come back timidly. She showed up at Wimbledon looking like a woman who had stared down one of the hardest things a person can face and decided she was going to show up anyway. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. She looked emotional. Honestly, it was one of those rare moments where even the most committed royal skeptics had to admit that was powerful. And William? He came back too. Steadier, more deliberate, like a man who had gone through something that stripped away all the noise and left only what actually mattered. Their public appearances together since returning have carried a different energy, less performative, more grounded, less about the institution, more about two actual human beings who chose each other and had that choice tested in ways most people will never fully understand. So, what is the real truth behind why William and Kate were really missing for 2 years? The honest answer is, it was never one thing. It was cancer and chaos, personal crisis and public pressure, family fractures, and the exhausting, impossible weight of being the living symbols of a monarchy that refuses to modernize at the speed the modern world demands. It was a couple trying to survive something privately while living their entire lives in a fishbowl. And the palace's secretive, stiff upper lip response to all of it? That did not help anyone. But Kate's courage in eventually telling her story on her own terms, that was the moment this whole saga stopped being gossip and became something genuinely important. Here's the bottom line. The British royal family has spent centuries perfecting the art of saying nothing. But people are not fooled anymore. The world watches, screenshots, zooms in, cross-references, and demands authenticity in a way no press secretary can manage. William and Kate's absence was real. The pain behind it was real. And the lesson buried in all of this? Even the people who live in palaces are still just people, going through things quietly, desperately, humanly. And that right there is worth more than any royal press release ever written. Thank you so much for watching. We genuinely appreciate you being here. See you in the next one.